Let's talk about the upcoming HBO show Welcome to Derry, which is going to be a prequel to the It films that Andy Muschietti did in 2017 and 2019. These will serve as a prequel to sort of expand the lore of Pennywise and what exactly is Pennywise up to. Now, they were in talks of making a prequel movie a couple of years back, but then of course it turned down to the show. According to the creators, the show, if it is successful in its first season, the second season will come and it will be set 27 years in the past of the previous season and so on and so forth, even going if we go into the third season, 1908. So that's an interesting thing to note right there. So here we're in the late 50s, of course, and it's America. You know what it's going to be. So let's get into this new trailer that we got, as well as some of the new footage that was shown at Comic-Con and what exactly can we expect in terms of the violence in this new show. So Andy Muschietti is here and Barbara Muschietti developing this right here with showrunners Jason Fuchs as well as Brad Caleb Kane. This is going to center around Mike's grandparents, and this of course is one of the main characters in the It film. Now Leroy Hanlon, who is played by Jovan Adepo, will be the main character here alongside his wife Charlotte, who is played by Taylor Page, who we see prominently throughout this teaser. We see that they have just come to Derry and they're trying to get accustomed to it all and just really figure their place in the town. The town, of course, set in the late 50s in the United States. There's a lot of racism throughout it, and you see it in this trailer as well. There's a lot more of a darker, sinister element through the town, as Taylor Page's character of Charlotte says, it's like some people got the devil in them in this, which I think is such a great way to really showcase the evil that is humanity right here. We also get some little nods to some other of King's works, including Shawshank State Prison, but we also see another character that I thought was so interesting to see here, who is a character from The Shining, who of course is the character of Dick Halloran, played by Chris Chalk, who we are going to see in this film a bit more, which I think it's interesting that they're trying to really interconnect these worlds. Of course, Stephen King has talked about this before, but I'm curious to see how it's going to be done in this series here. So they talked more about what exactly they were trying to do with this, and they said that they were really trying to go back and showcase how the town of Derry has sort of been shaped by this presence that is Pennywise, It. And they go and talk about certain things that happened in the past that have been talked about in the novel, like the burning of the Black Spot Juke Joint, the Bradley Gang Massacre, the Kitchener Ironworks explosion. They're all things that are going to be explored within this show and sort of give more of the details to the lore that we already know. So we're seeing 1962 Derry here. We're then going to move on to 35 Derry if there's a season 2, and 1908 in theory if there's a season 3. And there's a reason that it goes backwards, and they say we can't tell you why just yet. So I'm more curious about that for sure now, hearing that as well. One of the other things that they talk about is that they are trying to be a little bit more cryptic with things. They say one of the most fascinating things about the book is the cryptic factor. You hear certain things, you get to the end of the book, but you don't know what it is. We're going to ruin all this. We're unveiling all these mysteries, but with very good taste. So I thought that was interesting that they're saying that, especially with people who are really into the novel and stuff, that some of these things might get sort of explained. And I'm curious how that's going to be sort of received by people who are fans of this. So at Comic-Con, they actually showed 10 minutes of footage, and IGN actually wrote about this. So I'm reading the article from Eric Goldman here from IGN, linked below if you want to see it. It says, in the footage shown, we follow a young boy in 1962 Derry who gets in trouble for misbehaving at a movie theater, something that seems to be a common occurrence, and then, after running from an angry usher, wanders down the road on a dark snowy night. It's clear this kid has some issues, with his face appearing bruised, with him frequently sucking on a pacifier, despite the fact that he looked around to be 10 years old. A car pulls over with a family inside, including a mom and dad, their teenage daughter, and her younger brother. They offer a boy a ride to Portland, Maine, when he says he wants to leave Derry. Except things quickly get very odd in the car, as the daughter opens up a container marked liver and dips her fingers in blood, and then holds her fingers up to the boy as though she wants him to smell them. Things get much worse as the boy notices they are somehow driving back into Derry, even as the family begins to ignore his cries to stop the car and let him out, acting more and more deranged. When he screams he wants out, they mock him by chanting "O-U-T" over and over, causing him to panic and grab the steering wheel from the dad, causing a commotion that results in them hitting the mom in her very pregnant stomach, at which point she goes into labor, which is when she pulls up her dress and things suddenly get very graphic. Beneath her underwear, we see something is coming out of her, but it doesn't look typically baby shaped. And then the underwear is pulled away completely, and we get an unobstructed view of this misshapen thing actually being birthed out of her and falling onto the passenger side floor. We then get the full reveal of a demonic looking fang baby with bat-like wings, who then suddenly leaps into the back of the car, causing everyone to scream except the mom, who gleefully cackles as she manipulates her umbilical cord to make the demon baby move from one passenger to another before it finally lunges at the terrified boy, violently smashing his head into the window and presumably killing him, while causing the window to shatter and sending his pacifier flying out of his mouth and into the water to the side of the road. We then see the pacifier begin to float into a familiar looking sewer with a light shining at the end of it as the logo of the show comes up. My goodness, what the hell did we just read right there? That definitely sounds like they are really amping up the gore and the violence in this show, and I'm very curious to see how this one's going to be taken. And I mean, if that's the first 10 minutes of the show, what the hell are we going to get into as we go further and further down this rabbit hole of Welcome to Derry? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on that description right there, and I'm telling you, I'm not ready for this show. So according to the writer here after the Q&A, was that the show will explore the origins of how the entity known as It came to the form of Pennywise the Clown. This also will reveal the significance of the name Bob Gray to Pennywise that has been mentioned in the original novel. It was also Stephen King himself who actually said that Welcome to Derry should go back in time with each season, and it should be every 27 years. They also said that they were shocked at how gory and graphic they were allowed to be on the series, and said there's a lot more than that, talking about what they showcased at Comic-Con. That's what I'm telling you, this show's going to be insane. They also said that there will be other connections to It characters from the movies in the series, and some will be obvious and some will take some time to be revealed. Of course, they also talk about Dick Halloran, who is in The Shining and also is mentioned in the It novel, and also some more connections to Stephen King's universe. Now, throughout the trailer, what we see, of course, is that there is a bunch of kids in Derry going missing. There is missing posters all throughout, and a group of kids seem to be determined to figure out what exactly is going on. A lot of iconic imagery, of course, from the It franchise, including the lights, and I think that we definitely get our best glimpse at Pennywise, played by Bill Skarsgard, who just looks menacing here, and I'm curious to see how this movie will be in comparison to the films, which I think the films definitely have gotten a little bit more like not as revered as they were when they first came out. Some people say that the reliance on CGI can look kind of goofy, and it has such a weird balance between something looking more uncanny than actually horrific, which it can be two different things, right? Like there's a thing where things can be scary, but things can be too uncanny where you're just weird. And I think horror is just interesting because some things can be really scary to some, and to other people it can be goofy. So I hope that this series finds a better balance at it. Of course, in this first teaser, we also get a little bit of a sample of Pennywise, played by Bill Skarsgard once again. We see the Nivelled house as well, Pennywise's wagon, and a lot of other things throughout, which get me more excited. The show will be premiering in October on HBO Max. We'll be covering it weekly, discussing it, breaking it down, so don't miss out on that. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We are on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Let me know what you think of Welcome to Derry, and if you're excited for it or not, in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see all of you next time. Follow us on our social medias, and wherever you can, stay safe, stay positive.